a budget of 18 trillion naira. 45% of that money is coming from you, sir. The ministry, NNPC, and the rest are under your care and cure. It simply means if you fail, Nigeria has failed. 18 trillion naira, 45% is coming from oil and gas. My elder brother, you cannot fail. You must stand firm. All the marauders and those who do not want this country to move forward, especially in the area of oil and gas, do not allow them to spoil your work. I want us to stand together with this, my elder brother. Let us encourage him to make sure we succeed as a country. The challenge we have is one that requires urgency. 38 billion barrels of crude, proven reserve. And today we are doing about 1.3 million barrels per day. Chairman, honorable colleagues, distinguished senators, it's going to take Nigeria 78 years to deplete our reserve. The world is not waiting for us. This is the biggest challenge we have. Like the last speaker, the penultimate speaker said about COP28. Dubai is making an ambitious investment of about $150 billion on oil and gas investment, $150 billion. In an event where we are talking about climate change, somebody is coming up to say, I am spending $150 billion for oil and gas exploration and production. What are we going to commit? What are we going to do to bring out these 38 billions of crude from the ground? Ministers, honorable colleagues, this is a great assignment. If you go back to the Daniel Tete's report, that projected that by 2010, we are going to be doing about 4 million barrels of crude. We are far behind schedule. Today, NLNG is doing what? 50%. I am from Bonny. I was with the MD. And he told me that the train 7 is about 52% completion, does not have gas. Train 7 that we are spending close to about $5 billion does not have gas, Honorable Minister. It simply means that we have to do a lot to ramp up crude production. We have to do a lot to make sure we bring out this crude and gas from the ground. It doesn't really make sense, cannot exploration, when we cannot.
Supervising and superintending the economic mainstay of this country. Just like some other people have also asked, are you aware that the multinational oil companies are leaving the shores of Nigeria for greener pastures? Are you also aware that the oil production that was targeted at 1.7 million barrels per day has gone down to 1.3, 1.4? Are you also aware that the host communities, which we are trying to be hopeful for the implementation of PIA, the Petroleum Industry Bill, the window that is promoted for them to also be partners in the production of oil, are still languishing in hopelessness because of the non-implementation of the Petroleum Industry Bill. And as the supervisory ministries, what is wrong that for 2 years after the act was signed into law, the bill was signed into an act, nothing has been done about the implementation of the PIA as concerned the host communities in this country. Thank you.
Distinguished Chairman, Honorable Chairman, distinguished senators and honorable members. Let me start with the last concern, expressed by the right honorable member. It's important to say that we are a ministry, not a parastatal. We don't employ, the staff. The staff are normal staff that are posted from one ministry to the other. They are posted by the Office of the Head of Service, and so anything about federal character has nothing to do with us. They are normal civil servants that are posted by the Office of the Head of Service. Having said that, it's important that, we assure Nigerians using this medium that our budget is predicated on a projection of 1.7 million barrels per day. And somebody, raised a very fundamental question as to whether what quantum of our production belongs to federal government. I want to use this medium to assure Nigerians that our budget will be met. Our production will be able to surpass what is even contained in the budget. it's not everything you say in the public. We are a member of OPEC, and we are similarly bound by, what we have agreed, with OPEC and OPEC Plus as a country. But whatever figures you hear today, do not include condensate. And so when we add condensate as of today, we are doing over 1.8 million barrels. But I can assure you that it's not everything that I want to say in the public, because whatever we say here has very far-reaching consequences. So please let us end it at that. But assurance to Nigerians is that what we have projected in our budget will be met without any problem at all. The other issue, distinguished chairman and the honorable chairman, is the issue raised by Senator Ifeanyi Oba and other senators who expressed concern as to why we're not accompanied here by, some of our parastatals. The answer is simple. Different committees are created, to oversight those parastatals. And relevant committees of the Senate and the House of Reps have also invited some of them to defend their budget. And that is why they are not here with us. As for the issue of, NNPC, NUPRC, and other ones, I believe that we'll have another forum where we can engage. We'll bring all of them who can engage, and then members will have the opportunity of raising all the concerns that you may have. But as for the purpose of this year's budget, NUPRC has nothing to do with the ministry's budget. NNPRC has nothing to do with the ministry's budget. They are all creatures of the PIA. PIA has made them independent, although they are answerable to us, but they are independent. They raise their own funding, and they have committees that are oversighting them. And those committees will have ample opportunities to be able to engage them and extract whatever commitment that you can get from them. The issue of 200 million being budgeted for retreat, the PAMSEC will answer it at the appropriate time, being the accounting officer of the Minister of Petroleum Resources. And all the other issues that have to do with specific amounts being budgeted for, we believe that the best person to answer will be the permanent secretary. I also want to assure members that this budget is not meant to take care of issues of gas flaring or other issues that may be affecting communities specifically. Those issues will be addressed, through the CSRO, either from NNPC or from the oil majors, that are operating within those environments, not by the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. As I said earlier, our ministry is more of a policy-making ministry, and we are evolving, a very clear policy to be able to give a clear direction so that we can reposition our petroleum industry on the path of recovery, on the path of prosperity, so that we can benefit the way Aramco benefited. It's a dollar-denominated industry. In the last few years, all countries made money except Nigeria. And one of the reasons, has been that of insecurity. And one of the reasons why the IOCs are leaving is because of insecurity. Nobody wants to invest in an environment where there's no security. Nobody also, want to invest in an atmosphere where there's no consistency in policies. Nobody wants to invest in an environment that is hostile. Today, the president played host to the global, chairman of Total Energy. This morning, I had a breakfast meeting with him. By 11 o'clock, we were with him with the president. And the issues they express are all the same. All the IOCs are expressing the same frustration. They are living onshore and shallow waters, where we have bulk of our investment in the petroleum industry for deep offshore. Reason is insecurity. And most of the times, the country heads or the MDs of the companies here do not take decisions. Those critical decisions are taken by the head offices in Houston, in France, in The Hague. And so we have to do, what we needed to do as a new government to be able to rekindle the confidence of the companies. And we have been engaging them. to assure them that whatever concerns they have, we are going to give to them. And look, things have changed. Before now, Nigeria seems to be, one of the few countries producing oil in Africa. As of today, all countries in Africa are producing oil. And so there are new investment destinations for some of these oil companies with very, very liberal terms, with very liberal fiscals. And the long passage of the PIA was also instrumental to why most of the IOCs were leaving. Because the PIA took almost 20 years. I was in the Senate when the first PIA was submitted in 2007, 2008. It was passed in 2021. Within this period, the investment climate, the fiscal regime, the regulatory regime wasn't steady, wasn't clear. And the investors were not waiting for Nigeria. So they had to look for other destinations where they could invest. Now we're trying to lure them back to say, look, come, there's a clear regulatory framework, you can come back. But it takes time. But what I can assure the National Assembly is that we are repositioning the oil industry on the path of prosperity. The investments will come, but we also have to play our role. There are certain things that we'll talk when we are, in executive session. There are also complaints about the too many summons from National Assembly. Like, as a ministry, we may have over 10 committees that are oversighting us. Over 10 or 15? If you put both the committees in the Senate and the House of Reps, we have close to 20 committees that are oversighting us. Sometimes we have conflicting summons, we don't even know which one to go. But the oil companies are also saying that sometimes these things are also becoming a disincentive. Not intended, but these are conversations that we will have as one government, as leaders in this country, so that the investors, will come back. Somebody raised the issue of, our reserves being 38 billion barrels. In fact, when was the last time that we actually did, seismic projects? These reserves are reserves that we have had over 10 years ago. If you do more explorations, Nigeria's reserve could double this number. But I also want to assure Nigerians and the world that fossil fuel is not going away soon. What we are saying is that the PIA has prescribed a very clear framework where exploration has to be done in a cleaner and more environmentally friendly way. Not that fossil fuel will go away. If you look at the communique at the end of COP28, it didn't say that we should stop exploration. But they're talking about doing things in a cleaner way. And gas is a transition fuel. And Nigeria is more of a gas country than oil country. So I believe that we'll continue to explore petroleum, resources, and also to portray the point that fossil fuel will not go away soon. Just this year, the United Kingdom issued about 100 licenses for exploration in the North Sea. If Europe is issuing licenses at 2023, we shouldn't worry ourselves. US is producing over 10 million barrels a day. And so it is another gimmick just to slow us down. But we shouldn't worry. I want to assure Nigerians that whatever that is needed to be done will be done by government to ensure that we give the confidence to the IOCs to remain. And they are not leaving. What they are saying is that they want to leave onshore and shallow waters to go to deep offshore. Deep offshore can only be explored by the IOC, where it requires multi-billion-dollar investment. No indigenous company will have the capacity to be able to do that. Some of the mistakes we made in the past is giving oil blocks deep offshore to some individuals who have no capacity to go there, raise the money, and do the exploration. And they now want to go into partnership with the big boys. And the big boys are not agreeing, or they themselves are given conditions that are not commercially viable. And these are some of the things that we want to address. When we came, there was a bid round that was done, for deep offshore. And it was given to some boys. And when it came to my table, I said, no, if I give you a piece of paper in the name of an oil block deep offshore, I've only caused you more problem. You will just wear nice suits, attend all the conferences, brandishing that paper in the name of looking for investment. You will never get. There's no way Lokobi Nigeria Limited will bid for deep offshore block against Shell, and I will win Shell. How? So these are some of the things that this government is trying to, correct. And we're engaging them so that we can give these oil blocks to the right people who have capacity. I will give them timeline. We're not going to allow the IOCs to just carry our oil blocks and sit on them for the next 20 years. When we give them, we'll give them timelines to say, next 6 months we want to see visibility. Another 6 months, and we will constantly review their own performance. So I want to assure all of you that we're not going to have any problem. The IOCs, were leaving before we came, but they are beginning to come back. Just last week, Shell Global Director, upstream came to Nigeria and pledged to invest about $6 billion. Total too, today pledged to invest billions of dollars. We are also resolving some of the problems that we have in the industry. OML 245, the popular, OML 245 is going to be resolved. That block has 9 billion barrels. Of a total figure you have, that block has 9 billion barrels. It has been locked down for the last 20 years. It doesn't add value to Nigeria because of our own doing. The president directed that we resolve them so that Shell and E&I can come do the requisite investment so that we can benefit from that. And it's also important to state here that as a government, we want to see how we can resolve all the issues raised by these IOCs. Because for a new investor to come, he will ask those who are here, how is Nigeria? If you want to go to Ghana to go and make investment, and you have a brother, they will ask him now, how is the investment climate in Ghana? It is what it tells you that you believe. So we need to satisfy the concerns of those here, and then the rest will come. So I want to assure you that we are doing whatever we can. The IOCs will not leave. Our production will increase. When we came, we were producing less than 1 million barrels. Today we are producing, including condensate, over 1.8 million barrels per day. And we are going to be increasing that on a sustainable basis. But I want to assure you that as a government, we are not relenting and we'll do whatever we can to continue to increase so that we'll be able to raise money to fund our national budget. I yield the floor to my colleague. Thank you.
Of Senate Committee and House of Reps Committee on the various committees. Let me respond to the issue of the emission reduction, which is very, very fundamental, and it has a lot to do with the environment. The ministry or the federal government is really concerned about the safety of our own environment. And if you go to the capital cost budget of 2024, page 41, there is a provision for emission reduction program, which has to be done. Now, on the climate change, Nigeria is equally committed. 2002, Nigerian government signed the methane pledge in COP27 to reduce emission. And after that, the parastatals that are concerned with these issues are NMDPRA and NUPRC. As we speak, the NUPRC, they have produced guidelines to ensure reduction in the fugitive methane and greenhouse emissions. And we equally have a flare gas commercialization program to ensure that there is carbon reduction in the processes that they are undertaking. So we are really challenged to ensure that we have a safety environment in as much as we must continue to take advantage of our fossil fuels. So I wouldn't want to take you longer than that, but that is, in a nutshell, the solution that we are profiling on a daily basis to catch up with what is obtainable in the world. Thank you.
Conducted, and let me also appreciate our visitors, the Minister for Petroleum Resources, Oil and Gas, and the Permanent Secretary, and other senior officials of the Ministry for taking our time to explain to this committee their budget forecast for the year. And I will end by adding that, Honorable Minister, you have to now focus when you come back next on how to increase revenue and give the Ministry of Petroleum funding for them to continue to sustain. Like you have the NNDPR having 0.5% and the NUPRC having about 4% on royalty. You should work out an amendment to the PIA that will give room for the Ministry of Petroleum to retain about 2, 5, 10, or depending on what you agree, percentage from the dividends that will be paid to the Petroleum Incorporated. By so doing, you return life back to the Ministry of Petroleum, because with your budget proposal, there's no way any of those things you listed can work. So we thank you and we pray God to guide you as you go. Thank you. I hereby move for adjournment.